and welcome back to the Pod Kings podcast, guys. Damian here with
Marcos.
What's going on, guys? We got a special edition for y'all today. Monday. We usually post Sundays. Today's Monday, but we had a little bit of a special day for that special lady in our lives yesterday, and we unfortunately were not able to get around to doing the podcast. So I'm sorry we're a day late, but here we go, guys. Marcos, how was your Mother's Day?
Honestly, man, my Mother's Day was pretty good. I got to spend it with my mom and then the mother of my son, my grandmother. It was a good time.
It's a lot of family.
A lot of family. Yeah, well, I was with cousins and stuff like that.
Well, that's the good thing, though, because, really, whenever you think about meeting up with family, you think more about, Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and stuff like that. You never really think about the small but important holidays, like Mother's Day and Father's Day. Children's Day is also something big.
Children's Day?
It's something celebrated more in international countries as opposed to American culture, but there's these small holidays that revolve all around family. And, yesterday was that day, especially for everyone in the world. Everyone in the world has a mother. You were all born by your mom.
Definitely.
And, your mom may not be in your life anymore. She might have passed away. She might have just not been there, You might have somebody else in your life, though, that is like a mother figure to you. For me, I have my grandma. My mom's still here, too, but I feel like I'm really close to my grandma, and there's just certain people in your lives that you have that bond with, and that's what I think the day's really about. It doesn't matter for man, woman, old, young. It's just that bond that you have,
It really is, man, because it's like you said earlier, it's all about the small details, the small days, the most important days.
Oh, sorry guys, technical difficulties here. Don't worry, we're good. But yes, the small days, and that's what's really important. And, it's the family aspect of it and the bond, and that's all that you can really ask for. Especially being a parent or a grandparent or something, you really just want to have your family close to you. And I think I had a really good day yesterday. I spent it with a bunch of family, friends, people I love. Marcos, you were telling me you spent it with your aunts all day and your family and the mother of your son. Well, that's great because you have that close bond, and I'm glad I hope everybody can have that. I know it's not easy to have that relationship with, the people older than you in your lives, but, once you get to that age where you guys are all worked out together, it all ends up being really good.
Definitely, because you really want to take in fact of being with your family as much as you can, especially with days like now with the corona and these death hornets and all kinds of things going on right now, you can honestly lose somebody
exactly quick. And I mean, speaking of corona, Mother's Day was a tough one because a lot of people like to go out to dinner and take their parents out somewhere nice for breakfast, brunch, something after church, for Mother's Day. And I remember whenever I worked in the restaurant industry, Mother's Day was one of the busiest days of all time.
Yeah, it was. It honestly was. I remember being slammed while I worked at Julio's and with a lot of people, a lot of reservations, stuff like that. So
yeah. So Texas just recently opened, and there's a bunch of restaurants who are filling to 25% capacity. So I actually, in the morning, I had spent the day with my actual family, my grandma, aunts, uncles, all the ones who were immediate to me.
Yeah.
And we all grilled and we just did something at the house. We had meat. But at night, whenever I went to my girlfriend's mom's house, we ordered Olive Garden.
Yeah.
And I think we ordered it at 6. And they said it was okay, it's going to be ready at 8:30 because they're backed up.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock and we still haven't gotten our food. And we're only doing carry out. We didn't go out. And the food still isn't being delivered to the car or anything. It's not ready. And they're telling us that they're backed up so bad that it might take another 30 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because everybody was going through drive-through and not drive-through, through carry out and stuff like that.
Yeah, and another thing what I had heard from the person who went to go pick up the food was they did have the restaurant full to their 25% capacity, but they were just flipping their tables as fast as they could and just getting people in and out. But even still, their kitchen just got slammed. And I imagine that's how it was everywhere when people were trying to order food. But, Texas being open, this is something crazy. And, there's a few other states that are trying to reopen. Marcos, what do you think? What do you think is going to be the biggest beneficial thing from Texas being open? Do you think it's going to be the businesses, or do you think it's going to be more of the consumer aspect of it?
Well, I think that it would probably be more of the business, because when it comes to consumer, I mean, businesses, consumer-wise, you can get in online anywhere, like Amazon, eBay, stuff like that. You can get your stuff. You can
Uber Eats, DoorDash, all that
stuff like that. So it's like on the aspect of being safe, physically, and like not catch anything, you can't be going to these stores and stuff like that. So I think it's a benefit more towards the business, because it's more for the economy.
That's true.
This economy was going to crash with us being closed, so that's the only reason why they opened up places, was just for the economy.
It's true,
not for the people.
And I mean, it is okay to go to these stores, guys, but you got to practice your safe social distancing. Wear your mask, get some gloves if you got some. Just keep hand sanitizer on deck too. These businesses being open it's a scary thing, especially with barbershops and salons being open now, because there's a lot of people who go get waxed at salons. They wax girls. I hear they wax their mustaches, get their eyebrows threaded and stuff like that. That's the woman's going to be really close to your face, trying to be precise with everything that they're threading out of your eyebrows or mustache. And all they ask of you is to wear your mask. They always wear their own masks too, as it is, if you've ever seen. And I've heard a lot of people who work in these businesses, the barbers and salons, who say that these people are coming in and they're like making a big deal about having to wear their masks. They're like, why do I have to wear a mask?
Really?
Yeah, and
people are getting mad?
Not really mad, but annoyed, like upset kind of. And I think that's the scary thing about this whole situation, because it's not about the death rates or anything of like that, or the serious implications. It's about spreading it. Yeah. You don't want to. What we're trying to do is slow the disease from spreading as fast. Because imagine the whole country being taken out by corona. Even if we could work, nobody could. Like even if things were open, nobody could work because they're sick.
Yeah.
And being some people are asymptomatic and some people only show mild symptoms. But what about the people who are like very severe with them? The older generations. And
like people with like existing diseases. Like
exactly.
Asthma or diabetes and stuff like that. So it's
high blood pressure, all of that. High blood pressure.
So it's not only going to affect you, because I mean, like us, people can like go through it and live through it and be okay with it, But like people with diseases like that, it could really affect them, take them to the hospital. Who knows what could happen?
Yep. And that's what I'm saying, guys. And actually, funny thing is, this is actually something I heard the other day, and I had to say something, because I'm not gonna sit here and watch the world burn to the ground because people are ignorant. I went to a QT early in the morning, probably like 7 a.m. On Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, and I went in there only to buy a Red Bull and like a Cliff Bar or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in line ready to check out. And at QT they have like the register, and they can get you on one side, this side, or the other, but it's like all right there within like 5 to 7 feet. The register is not a wide span. You can only have like 2 people there at each end, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so they had 2 people on each end, and this woman's like, "Oh, I can get you right here," like right in between them. And I say, I don't have my mask on at the time because I had left it in the car, but there was only those 2 people and like maybe 2 or 3 other people in the store, because it was really early. There's nobody there. And this guy, the woman said, I can get you here. I said, oh, I'm okay, I'll wait. And the guy who's standing there is like, what are you so scared for? The guy who's at the counter already. I'm like, I'm not scared of anything. I'm just trying to prevent spreading any diseases. And he says, you think it's that serious? And what I said was, it's not that it's serious. It's that people have pre-existing conditions like asthma. And he says, everybody has asthma. That's a common thing. And I'm like, you don't understand how ignorant you sound saying this. Some people have asthma way worse than other people. Like just because everybody has breathing problems doesn't mean, oh, I'm above this fucking disease. I deal with this already. Who cares? There's people out there who are very ignorant, and it's the people in our communities around us And that's the scary thing about it.
Like you said, people are just ignorant, and I think they don't understand the severity of stuff, you know?
Exactly.
And honestly, I think that sounds very stupid what he said.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm like, what does that even have to do with it? What? No, it doesn't.
And it's hard not to, like, say something to these people, even if they're complete strangers. You know, it's hard not to say something because, like, how else is the world supposed to learn if people are staying in their same spot? You know, you got to get different perspectives in your life. You got to get a bunch of different points of views to really understand everybody. And you might not agree with everybody, but you got to understand each side of the story, whether that's with this disease or anything else, like being accused of something. You always have to get the full side of the story, and that's a big thing. Exactly. And there's a lot of people around us who really do not know what the hell they're doing.
They just need to be more informed. I feel like they just need to do research. You know?
Exactly.
People just don't do anything and just kind of just go by hero mouth, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, besides Texas being open and Mother's Day, Marcos, big news I hear.
What?
New car alert.
Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know, I had to get a new car, guys. You know, your boy had been walking for a couple months, so it was time to take away the wheels and get on some wheels. But yeah, I got a Lexus, dude.
A Lexus, I love it. What kind? SE?
It's the IS 250.
Oh,
IS 250. It's an 07. I got it for pretty good price. Pretty good year, man. I love it.
Lexuses are great cars. You know, we're going to have to give a shout out to our friend Mo. Mo, reply to us, please. We need your help on this Lexus.
Definitely, Mo.
He's
Let
a
me know, please.
Big Lexus body guy. You know, he does a lot of body work, but you know, it's how convenient. You know, you chose a great car,
and I really like Lexus, dude, because it's manufactured by the same Toyota company. So, and Toyotas are really good.
Toyota built to last.
They hold their value. And it's pretty good. So I'm assuming that Lexus is the same way. I've heard good stuff about Lexus.
I've seen your car. It looks great in there. And I love the speakers sound great. Sunroof looks good. The leather seats look practically perfect. Okay. You know, they do not look more than 10 years old.
And that sunroof, man, that sunroof caught my heart.
It came in clutch, right? Yeah, you've always had a sunroof in your car, though.
I love sunroofs, dude.
Always. I don't remember one car besides your Cube car that didn't have a sunroof, but I think that one did have one too, didn't it?
I think it did. It didn't. Actually.
Okay, it was a Kia Soul. I don't think Kia Souls come with sunroofs, but other than that, Marcus, yeah, you always choose the right car, dude. You're really good. I try to, bro. You have a good eye for them.
I know, and you know, hopefully, I want a truck soon too. So, hopefully, here in a couple months, maybe like a year or two, I'll get a truck and start doing some business. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, guys. You know, you can help Marcos out with that goal, getting that truck.
Go fund me, guys. Go fund me. You know, go follow my OnlyFans account.
No, not that. Listen, go share this podcast to your friends, guys. We need the views on here. Come on, guys.
Definitely, guys.
You know, we're getting them, but you know, it doesn't hurt to tell your friend, oh, check out this podcast.
Right? You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get some big people over here. You know, maybe do some who can shotgun beers faster. I don't know.
Yep, I hear there's some people making some trouble over here in Texas right now. They're the Nelk boys. And, you know, I got nothing against you, Kyle, Jesse. I don't really like you that much, Salim, but Salami, whatever the fuck your name is. And Brad, sell me some drugs. But Steve, fuck you. I will never respect you until you can beat me in a shotgun contest. All you're doing is running away, acting all scared of me, but I'm here. I'm in Texas. You came to my state. I'm calling you out, buddy. Come on over here to the Bedford, to that 76021, baby.
Ooh,
that 817.
Hey, yo, he can shotgun a beer pretty fast, guys, so you should really help him out. Steve, come on, dude. Steve will do it. More like Steve won't do it.
Exactly. Exactly, Marcos. Hell yeah. Yep. So I hear there's some people making some trouble. We're trying to get some Nelk boys on here. You know, if only we could do a live with them. I've been trying to message them, but you know, very soon we're gonna have somebody on here, special guest for y'all. And it's gonna be good. And
it'll be a good time, guys. It'll be a good time. It'll be like a party once a guest like that gets on the show. So.
Yes. And you know, speaking of guests, I think next week we'll be having a guest. Mm-hmm. Last week we brought my brother in for an episode. He was our test trial run on these guests coming back since Texas is reopening.
By the way, guys, go check out that episode, Pizzagate. Very interesting.
Yes, Pizzagate. If you guys didn't look it up on the last episode, definitely get into it. There's a lot of stuff about it. We'll post the.
You hear about the whole Obamagate?
I saw tweets of it, but I don't know what it is. You're gonna have to explain it to me.
I don't know what it is.
You guys can leave some comments and let us know.
Let us know what Obamagate is, guys, because it sounds pretty stupid, but I'm always interested.
I'm interested in all the gates.
Right?
Exactly.
Literally.
But other than all of that stuff, you guys, we got to pay some bills. So let's hear a word from our sponsor, Anchor. And when we come back, we're going to get into some really good stuff. We saw the UFC fight this last weekend. Ooh. And so we're about to get into that. You guys are going to see some really good things. What we thought. We also heard somebody calling out a bunch of other people who wasn't fighting this weekend. Mm-hmm. So we'll see who that was. And we'll let you guys know when we come back. And we also got one other thing that's you guys are going to be very interested in. Today was the day for this one. And we're not going to give you... I'll give you a little hint before we get into the break. But, just make sure you're investing your money wisely.
Definitely, guys. So, a lot of big moves are happening for everybody out there. So y'all got to keep an eye out on what's going on.
Exactly. So, but first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Anchor, and then we'll get right into it. Oh, we love you, Anchor. We appreciate you sponsoring us as always. Marcos, you love them for sure. You're the one who's always doing the sponsor for them.
All hail Anchor, you know what I'm saying, guys.
All hail Anchor. Exactly. They're the ones who put us on the map, so we have to give them that praise. Yeah. But not only them, we got a whole bunch of other sponsors who we very much appreciate, and also friends. We gave a shout out to our friend Mo earlier, but we also want to give a shout out to the How Many podcast because they're a really good podcast, just like us. Posting. We're all posting at different times, especially in a time like this. But we're all trying to be consistent, and we're all trying to give you guys some things to be interested in, especially in these times. I know a lot of states are still closed, and we've got international listeners. If you guys are bored, go check them out too, because they're also as good as us. They got a lot of good content. You're gonna find some really good things on there, and you're also gonna hear about some stuff that you've never seen before. They've discussed many things, like many movies, music, chips, like a whole bunch of different stuff. And one of the interesting ones for me was like that movie one. I saw a couple movies I didn't even know about. Yeah, so you guys go check them out. How Many Podcasts? You can find them on Facebook, also on YouTube. You're going to want to find them on Facebook, though, because that's where you're going to find the links to all of their socials and stuff. So definitely, go check them out.
It's some good stuff, so I definitely recommend them, guys. They have a lot of content to talk about, and not only are we trying to support the whole podcast family, but we're trying to support a lot of everybody in general. So, exactly. YouTubers, Instagram people, even the OnlyFans account, guys. We support you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And then also our followers. You don't have to be selling or providing any content. Our supporters, we love y'all too.
Definitely,
you guys are the ones who really keep us in business right now, and we appreciate y'all.
And definitely go leave us some stuff to talk about on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. At Parking's Podcast. That way we can talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Also, there's a lot of things to talk about. A lot of conspiracies. We were just talking about a couple that we might be doing for the podcast later on, guys. So
yeah, we got some good stuff coming. We get new ideas every day, but we would love y'all's input too, so that we can really get into the meat and skin and bones of what you guys want to hear us talk about. So just add us on Twitter, find us on Instagram at PodKings Podcast, but also go check out all of our friends, and we'll give somebody a shout out on our next episode. Whoever comments and retweets the tweet for this episode, definitely, whenever we put it out,
we'll definitely shout you out. Yep. If you come in contact with us, we'll shout you out, guys.
Exactly. So, like I was saying before the break, we saw the UFC event this weekend, and the UFC hasn't done anything in, I want to say, 2 months now. Ever since this whole Corona thing started, they haven't done anything, and neither is any sports. There's no sports except for, I guess, the WWE's the only people who are really doing stuff.
Who are considered, I guess, a sport.
Well, they're the only people who are putting on physical contact, anything. So the UFC finally did something after 2 months, and it took so long for this card specifically because we were trying to see Tony versus Khabib, right?
Yeah, we were.
Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov for the fight. This is the fight that they've been trying to make for 5 or 6 times already.
Dude, what's going on with that? I don't understand why he keeps.
It will never happen.
Ducking and dodging, man.
It will never happen anymore. After this weekend, that fight will never happen ever. And Dana White was quoted before saying that he would never make this fight again, and he had planned it for 249. And this happened. This is the most unluckiest fight, and it just will never happen, honestly. Unfortunately, if only we could see that great fight, but, we saw a lot of other good ones. And, this whole event was shrouded in controversy, not only because of this whole fight mix-up, but there was actually somebody on this card who was supposed to fight who came down with the COVID-19 2 days before the fight.
That's right. What was his name again?
It was Jacare Souza. And so he and 2 of his cornermen all contracted the corona. And the worst thing about that is they didn't really find out and confirm it until 2 days before. And this whole week they've given out 12 to 1,800 COVID tests. And so I imagine these people took more than one test. And so how did they barely catch it, 2 days before?
That is true. And I don't understand because, like, had they made in contact with other people too?
Well,
that were there or no?
The thing that they thought was Jacare Souza, one of his family members, had contracted the virus, and he had gone and spent some time with them. I think this was like a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago. And, he didn't really even know he had it. He knew there might be a possibility that he could have gotten it, but he didn't know.
And he didn't say nothing?
Well, he told the UFC that he let them know about that, but and I guess they started giving out tests, but there's more conspiracies about this whole COVID thing. This isn't going to be the episode for conspiracies, but these tests, you don't know how accurate they are. Nobody can really tell. And so
we don't even know if they're the actual real tests at all.
Exactly. So, they didn't find out till late, and like I said, all of this stuff is going on, but the people who are fighting are all in this one hotel with this guy. Exactly. Not the same room, but everybody is staying in this hotel. And I told you over the weekend, or I told everybody who we were with, that there was also some wrestlers in that same hotel, some independent wrestlers who all stayed in that hotel too. So it was not only the UFC, their first card coming back, but the people who are still running these physical contact shows already also are put at risk now. So this is really, it could possibly put everything completely gone.
Why would they even risk that?
Exactly. And this happened in Florida. Florida was like a state where nobody really panicked as much. Happened? Yeah, that's where the fight was happening. And there was not many cases in Florida. And so they figured this would be a decent spot, a safe spot, and it was. But you never really know. This was so random. It happened 2 days before, and imagine how many people he had come in contact with. Luckily, nobody that we know so far on that event had contracted it. Yeah. But it's some dangerous stuff out there. And so this UFC card was shrouded with controversy, especially in the fights. There was a lot of fights. The early prelims. It started off with Ryan Spann defeating Sam Alvey via unanimous decision. And then it went into Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa, another decision. And, all of these 2 decisions right here, pretty much set up the story for us. They were rivaled in controversy. Somebody said that, well, we'll get into it a little bit more in a later fight, but these judges, some people are saying weren't scoring them correctly, very unfavorably, and maybe a little biased.
Well, there were a couple decisions when it came to the last round. They were like, she won it by a whole round, and we were like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, so that one, that's actually after this one. So those were the 2 early prelims. Bryce Mitchell, up and coming guy. I actually really liked his fight. Our friend Christian, whose house we went to go watch it out, he was telling us to look out for this guy, and I really liked his performance. I liked his after fight interview. Everything was great. I loved it. So then we go into the prelims, and we have Vicente Luque, who's coming off a fight with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and he's fighting Nico Price, the crazy one. I love Nico Price. He's such a funny guy. He's a young up-and-comer. He's got a big name, or not a big name, but he's a well-known name now because he's fought some people. Yeah. And that match was a brawl, Marcos. Dude. Can you pull up what his face looked like after the fight? Yeah. So this match was crazy. It was only 3 rounds, but I believe it went to the 3rd round until Vicente Luque, he was doing damage to Nico Price. They were going back and forth. And what was his name again?
Nico Price, Niko Price. He landed a really devastating left hook that Nico Price's face was already jacked up on both sides. And then Vicente Luque landed this mean left hook and it looked like he exploded his eye inside of his eyelid.
It was a pretty intense fight, and like his eye at the very end was completely closed.
It was gruesome.
It was completely closed. Like, I don't think they were gonna let that. They couldn't have let that fight go on.
The crazy thing is, it went what, 3 rounds, right? Mm-hmm. So it was in the 3rd round whenever they finally stopped it.
And weren't they only having 3 rounds? It was only like a 3-round fight, right?
Yes. Every fight except for the championship fights, most of the time it's a co-main event and the main event. Uh-huh. Those are the only ones that usually get 5 rounds.
Yeah.
But for 3 rounds, look at the punishment he took. They were really going at it.
They were going at it, man. They were going at it.
So you look at that fight, and then you go into the next fight. Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. These 2 women are very well known in the women's division. Yeah. The karate hottie, Carla Esparza, they're well known names. Mm-hmm. And they didn't touch each other at all. They looked like nobody had taken any damage whatsoever. Yeah. And I believe in, like, they had said something about 2.5 minutes, Carla Esparza not responding to a shot by Michelle Waterson,
Oh, like she didn't do anything.
Yeah, that was... So we go from a very gruesome fight where somebody's eye looks like it explodes in his eyelid to a fight where they barely even touch each other. This... And this fight specifically was one of those crowded in controversy. Carla Esparza wins, defeating Michelle Waterson, and in my eyes, watching the fight, I thought that she did take that fight. Carla Esparza definitely won that. But like you were saying, one judge gave it completely.
Completely to her.
One judge gave it completely to Michelle Waterson, saying that she completely outclassed Carla Esparza 30-27. Mm-hmm. That couldn't have been more wrong.
And you think, the whole no audience, because there is no audience in these UFC fights, guys. Mm-hmm. It's just the judges and the people, the corner people, and like the refs. Do you think that has something to do with all these decision making?
I think so also. We kind of talked about this a little bit, how no crowd could affect the fighter's mindset going into it, but we didn't really talk too much about the judges. Yep. You imagine that whenever you hear some decisions, like, it's based off crowd reactions, like, oh, this guy won this round because the crowd was going hype for him. Yeah. And in these fights, it was really like, you're going to look at all of the skill that these fighters are presenting, and that's how you're going to know who wins. And I think a lot of these were very biased. I think whoever gave it to Michelle Waterson just liked Michelle Waterson a lot, because I really do not think she won. I think she barely won one of those rounds. Okay. I definitely don't think she won 3.
No, I agree, man.
And you were watching them too.
I agree.
And then so from there we go into a really good fight. This whole card was stacked. Yeah. We had really big names on this card. It's Nico Price, not a big name, but really people recognize that name. The next fight was Alexei Oleinik. This man is crazy. He's one of the only UFC fighters to fight in 4 different decades. Really? He's got over 56 fights. Oh, yeah. And, he was fighting a returning Fabricio Verdum. Mm-hmm. And this Fabricio Verdum, big heavyweight name, you haven't seen him fight in 2 years.
Yeah. And he honestly looked overweight, man. He looked like he was not in conditions to fight.
Yeah, he looked very chunky. He didn't look like he was in the mindset. Mm-hmm. He did not have that killer mindset in him when they started. But he slowly started opening up and landing some really good stuff. When they got to the ground, I thought Oleinik was going to have a lot of trouble, which he was. Mm-hmm. And I thought Fabricio Verdum was going to be able to pull a dub out of his hat, being on the ground, like maybe a submission, or he's holding him down so much that the judges are giving him points for control time. And unfortunately, it went to Alexei Oleinik, and I think it's because of what you said. I don't think he was conditioned at all for that.
And the other guy was. It looked like he had lost a lot of weight and was like very conditioned for it.
Exactly, Marcus. I didn't even think about that. Alexei Oleinik, the last time we saw him fight was in January on the Conor McGregor card, and I remember nobody took this guy seriously at all, especially because of how he looked. Yeah. And this fight, he really came there to rumble, Yeah. And now he's the only UFC fighter to fight in 4 different decades, and he's also the only UFC fighter to hold victories in 4 different decades. He won in January, and he won on Saturday. So it's for somebody that old and fighting somebody with that caliber of mixed martial arts, it's crazy to see that. There's people who have fought not as much as him, not 56 times, but people like somebody else that was on the card, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He's fought the most times in the UFC.
Man,
like
that was a good fight too.
Yeah, and that was actually our next fight. From Alexei Olenek, he defeated Fabricio Verdum via decision, and that one I don't think was very controversial.
Yeah.
I think that was
pretty straightforward.
Yeah. But this brings us to our main event of the prelims. It was Anthony Pettis versus Cowboy Cerrone, and they fought before. Mm-hmm. They fought, I think, back in 2012, 2013, and it was a good fight, except Donald took some nasty gut kicks. Like, he got kicked in the kidney, in the liver, and it looked like it hurt. But that was in the first fight.
Yeah.
In this fight, they were coming for their heads, for each other's heads.
They were, man. They were honestly going at it, and like I hadn't seen Cowboys so like, what's it called? So focused in this fight, like in the other fights. You know, like this fight, he was actually serious. I mean, unfortunately, Pettis was just a little better. Pettis is always good, man. He's got good, precise hits, and like he hits. I feel like Cerrone just lets himself get hit. He lets himself get hit, you know.
Well, not only that, Cowboy's been on a losing streak, and so this was really the fight for him to like turn it up, and he tried, and they both did, because Anthony Pettis has also lost a couple of his last fights. So this was really a make it or break it type situation for both.
That's the come up,
and they both of them had to win. They had to. There's no doubt about it, and it really just came down to who showed a little bit more class in the fight, and that one could go either way. I wouldn't say that one was a controversial decision because that was such a great fight, but Anthony Pettis took that. He took that decision. It was a split decision, but great fight overall, and I really liked it. They really were going for each other's heads.
I really liked it. But the fight after this one, though.
Yeah, so this brings us into the main card, the very first fight of the main card, and this card was stacked. This main card was stacked. You thought the prelims and everything were already like big.
The prelims were good, but
this is where they really turned it up a level, and you saw some devastating stuff. Every other fight minus one was a decision. So everybody was seeing great fights, back and forth fights, and some power shots.
Yeah.
But we really wanted to see some type of knockouts. And our next fight, the very first one of the main card, we thought we were going to see something crazy like that. We saw Greg Hardy, former NFL player. He played for the Cowboys and I believe the Dolphins or maybe the Panthers. And, he's fighting in the UFC since 2017. He goes out there to fight Yorgan De Castro on Saturday. And everybody thought this was going to be a knockout fight. This is heavyweights here. And it wasn't, but we saw a lot of good stuff from Greg Hardy.
Yeah.
A
lot of good stuff.
I was telling Christian, I thought that he was a little overhyped because he's getting put on all of these main cards instead of staying on the prelims. But now I see why. He's improving his jiu-jitsu game. He needs to learn on how to check his kicks a little bit better because his legs were getting torn up. But it was a great fight overall. He was fighting that short guy. And Greg Hardy actually took the decision win over him.
Dude, the other guy was throwing some mean hooks too, man. I think he gassed himself out because I honestly thought he had a chance. Like, he was throwing some precise hooks. Like, he was swinging.
But he also hurt his foot on one of those kicks. He was trying to chop down Greg Hardy like a tree. And he was giving him some low kicks to the shin. And, he couldn't do much because Greg Hardy, I guess he could take a lot of punishment somehow. But
he got some big legs probably.
Yeah, I mean, he was former football player, man. So... it was a good fight, though. I really like to see... I like this improvement that I saw from Greg Hardy. And that brings us into our next fight. This one was actually really, really good. I love this one. It was Calvin Kattar versus Jeremy Stevens. This fight right here was actually muddled in a little bit of controversy from the very get-go, from weigh-ins, because Jeremy Stevens missed weight by almost 5 pounds. He fights featherweight. That's 145, and he came in almost 150.
There's always like, okay, he missed by a couple, 0.5 or something. But 5 pounds, bro, that's like, you didn't care.
Yeah,
he didn't care. You didn't really put much attention. Like, I think you just overhyped yourself and what's going on here.
Exactly, and it was gonna be a really good matchup in their weight class already.
It was a good fight.
It was an amazing fight. Well, we'll get into how it ended in a second, but Jeremy Stevens, he came into the fight looking like he didn't even give a fuck that he missed weight. His walkout and how he was in the back, he looked like he really did not care about it. And you know, maybe that could have played a role into how this fight ended. You know, he got knocked out.
Yeah.
He got knocked out by Calvin Kattar. It was a great fight. Ended in the second round. And, yeah, he really did not know what hit him. Like, he got rocked. And you can't even say it was the weight cut because he didn't make weight.
Yeah, he didn't make weight. And then, honestly, dude, the other guy, Kattar, he just... he hit him with this clean elbow, man. It was just like right in the face. Like you couldn't even.
Oh, he split him open bad.
He split him open bad. Like the top of his eye was pretty bad, and then he caught him with a couple of hits, like on the way down. Like Calvin Kattar is really good.
Yes, he's gonna be, and I think he was ranked number 13 or 14 before the fight. He might have gone up after this, but you know, you guys definitely go check him out. CK. Not Calvin Klein, Calvin Kattar.
Calvin Kattar.
Good fighter. You're going to want to keep a lookout for him. Jeremy Stephens, you know, you said at one point you were the hardest hitting 145-pounder. And, you know, all I got to say about that? Who the fuck is this guy?
Who the fuck is this guy?
Exactly. You know, Jeremy Stephens going to have to come back strong after that, especially missing weight, getting knocked out like that. We're gonna have to see something stronger from him on his next one.
Definitely.
But that TKO was just a little bit of a maybe foreshadowing of what was later to come in this card. You know, that was only the second fight of the main card. Our third one, big fight, heavyweights. Francis Ngannou, everybody knows this big African guy who fights out of Paris.
Big motherfucker, bro.
He's huge, and he came out fighting, I don't know how to say his first name, but it's Rosenstruck. And I think it's Jairzinho Rosenstruck.
Okay.
You know, they came out hard. You know, I believe the last fight he lost was Derek Lewis or Stipe.
Okay.
And he's been having... Yeah. And he's been needing to, you know, get some warm-up fights to get himself back in the picture. And he did that with this one. He knocked out Jairzinho Rosenstruck in 20 seconds. And the scary thing about that one was that uppercut was so clean that he went back into the cage. And I believe it was Herb Dean who was doing the refereeing. He was like in the middle of the octagon, and those two were kind of by the fence. After that uppercut, Ngannou like swarmed him as fast as he could and was just landing some haymakers. He probably landed like four
or five. That came clean to the hit.
Especially the last one he landed came really clean to the temple, and Herb Dean was rushing as fast as he could to get there, but it was Francis Ngannou was just too fast. You know, he was way faster that night.
He's a big motherfucker, man. Like I wouldn't even want to get in the way of that guy at all.
20 seconds. I hear he's a big teddy bear. And I could see that from his interviews, but I would not want to be in that octagon with him. That's a scary man.
Where is he from?
He's from Cameroon, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But he fights out of Paris. And so, yeah, I mean, that second fight was a TKO, led us into this KO in 20 seconds. It was a great way for that fight. And this is something everybody wanted to see. We saw something really good in that last one with Jeremy Stephens, but we wanted to see a heavy hitter KO, not a TKO. We wanted to see that knockout.
A heavy haymaker.
Yep, and that's what we saw with that one in 20 seconds. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And from there, we move into the main event. Now, this is where I think a lot of controversy was held, depending on who you ask.
A lot of stuff started going down the shit.
Yes, and, you know, this fight was not the main event, but it had a lot of crazy stuff that happened. You know, one of the more interesting things is what happened at the end, but... You know, it was Henry Cejudo defending his belt against Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz hasn't fought in almost 3 years. He hasn't fought since Cody Garbrandt. And everybody thought this Dominic was going to be the one to take out Henry Cejudo because he's got that style.
I had money on him, but he let me down.
Oh yeah, Marcus. We were making some bets on these fights, and that one I did not expect going that way. You know, Henry Cejudo, I guess technically TKO'd Dominic Cruz. Technically. But the thing is, you saw the fight with me. He was on his way up at the end.
I resaw the fight, man, and honestly, he was on his way up, but he was like, I don't know. He wasn't in full control of his actions. Like he was going up, and he just like wasn't really. There was like 11 or 12 unanswered shots to his face. Like,
well, I mean, how can you defend those punches whenever your arm's trapped? You know, that's why he's trying to stand up. Uh-huh. It's not like his face was going into the ground from those punches. He was going up.
And like he says, like, you know, you only start the fight if you're getting like knocked out. How are you getting knocked out and still getting up at the same time?
Exactly.
You know. And I get that, and I totally understand it, but dude, there's just so many. He let himself get hit a lot of times, man. And
well, those leg kicks that Henry Cejudo was throwing were actually, I think that changed the whole game for Dominic, because you know he moves a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that really just isolated his movement a little bit. He was still doing as much as he could, but it seemed like Henry Cejudo kind of had his game plan figured out.
Dude, Henry Cejudo, man, is pretty. He retired, by the way, guys.
Yes. So
yesterday was his fight.
This is what we were talking about at the end. In his post-fight interview, Henry Cejudo claims that he took out the whole flyweight division. He beat the greatest there, Demetrius Johnson. He moves up, beats all these top names in the bantamweight division: Cody Garbrandt, T.J. Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, and then he fights the greatest of all time bantamweight, and that's Dominic Cruz. And you know, unfortunately, it didn't go Dominic's way, but in Henry Cejudo's eyes, he won. That a dub's a dub, no matter what.
It is.
And you know, at this point in his career, he feels like he's done it all. He's an Olympic gold medalist, double champ. You know, he's fought all the big names, beaten all the GOATs. He's got nothing else to prove. He's only 33 years old, and I get that. I wouldn't move up either if I were him, because he probably would have that strength to move up and capture one more title, but I don't think he'd be able to run with the taller guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a really short man, dude.
He's only 5'4", I think.
Yeah. But hey, he took down people, man.
He went out on his
with
on his feet.
With how short he was.
He went out on his feet. You know, he walked out. He retired gracefully. Is what I can really say. He did it all, and pound for pound, he may be one of the greatest fighters out there. But I'm not gonna say that. You know, people can make that argument, but to me, one of the greatest pound for pound fighters of all time is John Jones. That's who I would always give it to. But you know, I don't like Henry Cejudo at all. I actually despise this guy. But
why?
I hate his attitude. But you got to give him props. You got to give him respect where it's due. You know, he did it. He did accomplish a great career. He did accomplish all of his goals. And yeah, I mean, good to him walking out. I'm glad actually that he retired. I don't have to see him fight anymore. But good on him. And you know, that was a championship fight. He retired, so we're not really sure what's gonna happen to the belt next.
Yeah,
there's a lot of decisions on that. Dominic just lost that fight, but he wants a rematch with Cody. So maybe Cody and him will get that rematch. And I don't think Cody and TJ are gonna be fighting for it. I think TJ's he's suspended right now.
He is?
Yeah, he got caught with something on that Henry Cejudo fight the last time he fought him.
Okay. So
I think the fight that's going to be made is either going to be Cody Garbrandt versus Marlon Moraes for a title, or maybe Dominic Cruz versus Cody Garbrandt for that rematch. I would love to see that one.
That'd be good.
And that brings us to our last fight. Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson.
The big one.
You know, we were talking about Khabib and Tony being made for this card and so many times. And, you know, it got canceled because of flight restrictions. Khabib is in Russia. They held this event in Florida.
Apparently.
Yeah. They held this fight in Florida, and he was having visa troubles getting out of the country with the whole COVID situation. So they had to make this fight. And I thought it ended up being a really good fight. And I really can't put this into words. You really just have to go watch it.
Yeah.
This was probably one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. And there was so much heart from both of them. Nobody wanted to get taken out because whoever won this fight they were fighting for the interim belt, but whoever won this fight was going to fight Khabib next for his belt. And, you know, I was really excited going into this. I wanted Tony Ferguson to win. Marcos, I believe you wanted Tony also, right?
I did. You know, I had some money on him and on Cruz. So.
You made a bet on this one also, yeah. And this fight went the distance. It went 5 rounds. But in the 5th round, it got stopped. TKO. Yeah. But not really a TKO.
It's not TKO.
They listed it as a TKO online. But
really,
I would consider, but it's only because TKO is more like a referee stoppage. Tony Ferguson did everything he could, guys. He was putting in all of the work he could.
Dude, that man's got a chin.
Exactly. He prepared for a wrestler. He prepared for Khabib, so he wasn't really, game plan to be standing.
But I mean, if you really think about it, Gaethje had like 6 weeks. And Kukui had a whole bunch of time, man. He knew what was going on.
But at the same time, Tony Ferguson did say that he'd been preparing for this since November. And so, this was a tough one for him, and I feel very upset that he couldn't get the dub. Unfortunately, the referee stopped it because Tony was just taking too many hits. He was a fighter to the end.
He took a lot of hits, guys. At some point, I felt bad. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah,
it just looked like a little kid getting bullied and beat up in the courtyard,
Exactly, and we were talking about the prelims, how Nico Price ended up with that crazy looking eye. Tony Ferguson didn't have a crazy eye like that.
He was cut up,
but his cheeks were so bloodied up. Yeah, I'm surprised he was still able to see and not getting blood in his eyes. But he took such a beating, and like I said, he's a warrior. He never got dropped. No. That was something that really surprised me. His chin held up to the very end. I saw a bunch of memes the next day calling him the Crimson Chin, and I thought that was the most interesting thing because you've never seen him take. You've seen him take shots like that and get dropped, but Justin Gaethje has that power to knock you out.
Man,
but
Justin Gaethje was hitting him with some hammers, man.
Yeah, and Tony Ferguson was holding his own. I don't have no clue how he stood through that whole thing, but props to Justin, just like how we said props to Henry.
Yeah.
Justin is our new interim lightweight champion. Hoping to see him fight maybe Conor McGregor next.
Ooh.
I'm excited for this.
He's not gonna fight Khabib?
Who knows at this point? We're gonna see a lot coming in the next couple of days. The fight's really recent. A lot of people were saying a lot of things, and I think this whole Khabib situation, we're gonna have to wait for this COVID thing to die down until Russia is lifted up to see the negotiations that they're gonna be able to make when he actually comes to the U.S. and Las Vegas and meet with Dana White.
Who do you think's gonna win if Conor and Gaethje were supposed to fight?
So I've heard a lot of things about maybe Conor fighting Tony next or Conor fighting Justin Gaethje next.
Really?
That's some things I've heard, and also Tony Ferguson maybe fighting Dustin Poirier next, and Conor fighting maybe Justin Gaethje next, and those two winners fight each other, and that winner would fight Khabib at the end. I think this is going to be very interesting to see what happens, but I don't think they're going to be able to figure anything out until Khabib gets back.
You don't think Conor would fight Nate?
That's another one that's been a lot of people want to see made, but I think Nate wants that Jorge Masvidal fight
again.
I think so because they stopped that. So I think they really need to put that back on and no stoppages.
You think so?
I think they were doing really good. I think Nate still had a chance in that last fight that they had.
He got his butt beat, man.
We'll have to see. I know this episode's running a little long, guys, so we're gonna get to the rest of the stuff on a part 2, and we got a lot more stuff to talk about. But before we end this episode, we want to give a shout out to one of our other sponsors, Southern Standard Services.
Yes.
We love them. We've been in talks with them for a long time, for years actually. Our first sponsorship with them, but we know the company very well and we love them. We love the work that they do. We love the people who work there. Everything about them is amazing, and I'm excited to see where they end up going. I love to see all these new Instagram posts every day, all of these things on Arturo's story.
Yeah.
He's doing some really big things, and so are you, Marcus. You work hand in hand with him. You're a foreman there.
We're actually doing some big stuff, guys. So we're do general contracting work. So whatever you want us to do, go take down some sheds, go install some grass, go take down a tree,
do some siding on your house.
Do some steel edges, do some flower beds, anything, guys.
Install a fence.
Anything you want to do, guys, we can make it happen for you. Just go look us up. And it's a lot of quality work, a lot of good quality work. Things get done in the right fashion and perfect style.
Yep, and also in a good amount of time too. You guys are quick with it, and I know we just named a lot of things that are done outside, but there's also things on the inside of your house that they could probably end up doing. You know, I'm pretty sure Arturo knows how to mud walls and like patch up some holes. So if you got any holes in your wall, maybe you're taking a flat screen off your wall and you want to put it somewhere else. Yeah, well, those holes are still in your wall.
We got toothpaste and ramen, so let us know.
Yes, of course.
Take care of that for you.
But yeah, we want to give a shout out to them and just all of our sponsors. Anchor, How Many Podcasts isn't a sponsor, but we want to give a shout out to them again. Mo, Issa, we want to give you a shout out. Your Lexus dealership is doing great, or auto body shop is doing great.
Definitely.
And you know, we appreciate everybody out there listening to us, supporting us. Go give a look to our sponsors. And you know, we got a lot of good stuff coming for y'all. Like I said, we got a part 2 to this, and it's gonna be coming out probably on Wednesday. Yeah. I think we're gonna do a Wednesday episode, and you know, we're gonna tell you guys about this whole card. You're gonna give you guys our favorite fights. Is Tony Ferguson done? What about Conor calling everybody out? And one other thing that we're gonna get really in depth on, and I gave you a little hint earlier, but it's cryptocurrencies. Go check out Bitcoin, guys. You guys, today, specifically Monday, the day after Mother's Day, was a big day. You guys are going to hear a lot more about it in our next podcast coming out on Wednesday. You know, but you guys got to be investing your money. You can't think that money's just going to come to you. You got to put the work in yourself also.
Definitely, guys. Right now it's the moment since everything is kind of crashing, but it will be coming up.
Exactly.
You know, right now the economy, how it's looking with all this corona and jobs and people going on unemployment, it's kind of looking bad, but if you really look into it and invest, it's going to come back up.
Exactly,
guys. It's going to double for you, even triple. You just really got to make the investments, and you need to take the time to look into it.
It's not going to last forever right now. You know, once our stock market's down, and a lot of Bitcoin has gone down a little bit, but believe me, in the next 6 months, maybe by January next year, stuff's going to be right back up. You know, people are going to be out in the world. Maybe not, it won't be the same, but people are still going to be buying stuff, doing all of this stuff. So invest now, because this is the perfect time. And we're going to get a little bit more into it on our next episode. Tune in on Wednesday. But yeah, that's all I got for today.
That's all I got too, guys. Hey, it was a good one, guys. Go follow us on Twitter at Podkings Podcast. Same thing for Instagram, and go look us up on YouTube. We got the videos up there also for you non-Apple listeners and Spotify. We're on YouTube, okay?
Yep, and you can also find us on a bunch of other podcast apps. If you have Anchor, you can listen to us on Anchor. There's a bunch of other podcast apps. You don't have to have just Apple. Yeah. So you guys can follow us anywhere. On Instagram and Twitter at Podkings Podcast. It's all one word and no underspaces or nothing, and they're both the same. So just go give us a follow, and you can follow our personal accounts too. I'm at Damian G 2015.
Yeah, I'm at 17 Marcos Lopez on Twitter, guys. So go follow me on Twitter, but go follow the podcast also. If y'all have anything for us to talk about, any subjects, theories, let us know. DM us. If you have any concerns, I don't know, guys, we'll shout you out. So
exactly,
come give us some love, and we'll get you some love. We also support our local communities and our local businesses. So guys, support us. We'll support y'all. Support for support. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But other than that, I guess we're out. So we'll see you guys on the next one. We haven't been doing Wednesday episodes lately, but we are gonna release one because I think this is some really big news. What we got to talk about. So we'll see you guys then. Peace.
Peace.